The work Jesus did was in accordance with the needs of man in that age. His task was to redeem humanity, to forgive them their sins. And so his disposition was wholly one of humility, patience, love, piety, forbearance, mercy, and loving kindness. He blessed humanity richly and brought them grace in abundance, and all the things that they could possibly enjoy, he gave them for their enjoyment. Peace and happiness, his tolerance and love, his mercy and loving kindness. In those days, all that man encountered was an abundance of things to enjoy. Their hearts were at peace and reassured. Their spirits were consoled, and they were sustained by the Savior Jesus. That they could obtain these things was a consequence of the age in which they lived. In the age of grace, man had already undergone Satan's corruption, and so the work of redeeming all humanity required an abundance of grace, infinite forbearance and patience, and even more, an offering sufficient to atone for humanity's sins in order to arrive at its effect. What humanity saw in the age of grace was merely my offering of atonement for the sins of humanity, that is, Jesus. All they knew was that God could be merciful and forbearing, and all they saw was Jesus' mercy and loving kindness. This was entirely because they lived in the age of grace. And so, before they could be redeemed, they had to enjoy the many kinds of grace that Jesus bestowed on them. Only this was beneficial to them. This way, they could be forgiven of their sins through their enjoyment of grace, and could also have the chance to be redeemed through enjoying Jesus' forbearance and patience. Only through Jesus' forbearance and patience did they win the right to receive forgiveness and enjoy the abundance of grace bestowed by Jesus, just as Jesus said, "I have come to redeem not the righteous, but sinners," to allow sinners to be forgiven of their sins. If Jesus had been incarnated with a disposition of judgment, curse, and intolerance of man's offenses, then man would never have had the chance to be redeemed, and would then have remained forever sinful. Had this been so, the 6,000-year management plan would have come to a stop in the age of law, and the age of law would have been prolonged for 6,000 years. Man's sins would only have grown more numerous and more grievous, and the creation of humanity would have been for naught. Men would only have been able to serve Jehovah under the law, but their sins would have exceeded those of the first created humans. The more Jesus loved mankind, forgiving them their sins and bringing unto them enough mercy and loving kindness, the more mankind gained the capacity to be saved, to be called the lost lambs that Jesus brought back at a great price. Satan could not meddle in this work, because Jesus treated his followers as a loving mother treats the infant in her bosom. He did not grow angry at them or despise them, but was full of consolation. He never flew into a rage in their midst, but forbore with their sins and turned a blind eye to their foolishness and ignorance, to the point of saying, "Forgive others 70 times 7 times." So his heart transformed the hearts of others. It was in this way that the people received forgiveness of sins through his forbearance.